Yeah, I can kick us off. Let me share my screen really quick. Can everybody see this okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all so much for being here. It's so nice to meet you all. I think these are all new faces to me. But my name is Allison. I manage operations and events at global nonprofit Remake, where our mission is to unite changemakers in the fight for human rights and climate justice in the clothing industry. And we're a pretty new nonprofit. It's our 10-year birthday this year. So we've pulled a lot of different levers, in the past 10 years to make change in the industry. And this goes from education to policy, US and global. These are some pictures of our really beautiful remake community taking action. Some of our most notable campaigns that I wanted to mention before I dive in to our campaigns on overconsumption is our Pay Up campaign in 2020, where we recovered over $22 billion in stolen wages from canceled orders during COVID from brands like Levi's, H&M, Zara, Gap, Target, and many more. SB 62, which passed in California, we worked very closely with Garment Worker Center to pass the Garment Worker Protection Act, aka SB 62, which eliminated piece rate pay in California in 2022. This bill went on to inspire proposed federal legislation called the Fabric Act to eliminate piece rate pay across the US everywhere. And then lastly, you can see our beautiful community organizer, Shivani, in the middle underneath the Levi sign. We have been campaigning against Levi's for the past few years to get them to sign the Pakistan Accord, which they did in 2024. So it's very exciting work that we have over the past few years. Campaigning can be very long and hard, as I'm sure all of you know. But through our community, we found really good results. So I will go on to the next slide I have. So, to stay in line with today's conversation, I really wanted to highlight two of our biggest community campaigns that really target overconsumption, and the power that individuals have in their buying journey. First is our No New Clothes 90-day challenge. And if you haven't heard of this challenge before, it's 90 days of buying no new clothes. And we tell people that they can do this in any way. So they can do this by not buying anything at all, by only shopping secondhand, by only shopping, brands that are local in their community. We launched this challenge in 2021, and we so far have over 9,000 challenge takers. We have an estimates of how much blue water, CO2e, waste, and money are saved on our website. I put the numbers here, but you can also find our FAQ on our website to see how we pulled these numbers over the years. And then our goal for this year is really to double this number and get 18,000 people to take this No New Clothes pledge. It's very empowering as an individual, but also when you see how many people are taking it collectively, it does make real change in the industry. Next, I wanted to highlight our Global Changemaker program. We have over 2,000 changemakers across 90 countries, 14 community hubs where most of our changemakers are. We have virtual community education calls. We work with high school students, university students, industry professionals, and just fashion lovers in general to give them the tools that they need to, build, work, and grow their advocacy muscles, whether that's just educating on consumer education, talking to policy members, growing their understanding of, things like collective bargaining and working with unions. I actually came from the ambassador program myself. I was a Remake ambassador in 2019, and it really has changed my entire career trajectory. In our 2024 surveys with changemakers, they've reported significant improvements of mental well-being, increased self-confidence, a stronger sense of community. We connect them with job prospects, and really just a deeper commitment in general to civic engagement in and out of the fashion industry. So some of our wins from 2024, we do a lot of in-person community events and virtual educational programs. We've hosted around 174 in-person events around the globe, and these are protests, panel discussions, clothing swaps, letter writing, sustainable fashion shows. So they really range from an entry level, somebody who might not know much about sustainable fashion, to somebody who's been in the industry for a really long time and connecting all of those people along the spectrum. Virtual education program, same thing. We want to be able to educate people no matter where they're at in their sustainable fashion journey. We have monthly community calls, lots of panel discussions, 101 programs where we educate on understanding the industry, understanding, how unions have power and how we can support them and why it's important to have worker voices in proposed legislation and in when implementing these changes in the industry. We have our fashion accountability report, which we released in March of 2024, and we have 13,000 downloads just in a year alone, which is really, really exciting because it shows that not only individuals, but people who are working in the industry want tangible solutions to make lasting changes in their supply chains and in their policy. Our accountability report is able for download on our website, and we have a lot of roadmap solutions on how to talk to brands, talk to people in your community, get involved in local and national policy. And then lastly, our campaigns. We collaborate very often with other organizations, especially worker-led unions, on campaigns around the globe. Some of the ones that we worked on in 2024 was Stop the Shein IPO, Make Amazon Pay, Levi's signing the Pakistan Accord, Stop Union Busting in Cambodia, and Lululemon Dress and Oil campaign with Oxfam in Canada.
So I'm sure we all know, but it's always good to remember why we're still discussing and we're still asking for a revolution in the fashion industry. So when we talk about consumption, it's important to highlight that by 2030, we're expecting a further 63% of increase in fashion consumption. And when we talk about microplastics in the ocean, it's important to highlight that right now, 60% of our clothes are made by polyester from oil, a derivative from oil. And by 2050, by 2030, this will grow to 80% of our clothes. And that is why 35% of all microplastics in the oceans are caused by our clothes. And it mostly happens during consumption when we clean our clothes. So that's very important to highlight from this terrible still data. So it's the fourth highest negative impact on the environment and climate change in Europe. Since we focus today on consumption, it's important also to say that we consume 60% more than we did 14 years ago, and we keep them half the time we did. 30% of what we buy, we never wear, or maybe once. We all have in our cupboards clothes with their tags still on. And this is due to the fast fashion consumption model. Waste is terrible for the environment. We create mountains of waste, of clothing waste that we throw out in Africa. So we just throw out in Africa, and we create there is an important social issue. There are installations going around. It was in Berlin 2 years ago, last year in Athens. To highlight this problem, they told me that in Kenya they call them Uncle George clothes because people actually don't have access to new clothes. So they think that they wear dead Uncle George clothes, and they wear the worst quality of clothes is what ends up in Africa. It's important also to consider and always important to remember that fashion is the second industry in risk of human trafficking. And the reason why our clothes cost 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 euros is because nobody has been paid in the supply chain from the manufacturing of the raw material to the design and to the manufacturing of the ready-made garment, accessory, footwear. So it's not only asking about the textile, not only what's in my clothes, hashtag, but also who made my clothes. We see that about 40% to 50% of what brands say is a lie. So greenwashing is a huge issue right now, and this is something that we need to consider when consuming. So only having recycled textile or using sustainable textile is not the solution to the problem. We need to ask who made my clothes and whether these people were paid living wages. So this is important elements, and I say that we celebrate the change we've made this past 11 years. Here are some at least in the European Union. There are a number of legislations and regulations that have been the success of the pressure of consumers and civil society organizations. So Fashion Revolution back in 2020 submitted the shadow strategy together with another 65 civil society organizations. And many of these articles are incorporated at the EU Sustainable Textile Strategy for sustainable and circular textiles. And in the Green Deal, here are more legislations that you can see. So what we ask is for long-lasting products. The digital product passport is something important that we are expecting within the next 2 years. So this is something else that we should ask as consumers. And that is, I think, from my side at this point. Let's, yes, we can discuss more.
Now is a global activist community that was founded in 2020 in London. It was conceived with the purpose of exploring what degrowth means for the fashion system and for fashion culture. So I then need to explain a little bit about what degrowth means. Degrowth is a critique of the ideology of growth that underpins capitalism. So degrowth is interpret the social environmental crisis as a symptom of a system that pursues growth at all costs. It is not, however, a desire for a recession, but about building new systems or reviving old ones that are not dependent on growth. So if we take a definition by Jason Hickel, he says that degrowth is a planned reduction of energy and resource use that's designed to bring the economy back into balance with the living world in a way that reduces inequality and improves human well-being. So our question is, well, what happens when we apply this to fashion? We have coined the term defashion to describe the change that we believe is needed. And as a vehicle for defashioning, over the last year, we've been building our common market, an online platform for community-based clothing and textile practices. Our mission then is to help progress defashion through research, awareness raising, and nurturing the building of alternatives. So we see defashion as really a paradigm shift or an ontological shift in the fashion system, a shift in our very way of being in this world. It is a radical approach that means delinking fashion from capitalism and dismantling big fashion. It is a decommodification and deindustrialization of fashion in favor of serving human and ecological well-being through slow, bespoke, and meaningful processes. It is a deglobalization and decolonization of big fashion in favor of fair, local, regenerative, and pluriversal fashion practices. We find the alternatives of big fashion within the commons. When I say commons, I mean the autonomous systems that kind of exist on the peripheries of the state and the market. We believe these occur naturally when humans are led by their humanity. It is when we have a shared wealth, in other words, a resource, with a community around it that is stewarding that resource. And the community naturally uses democratically decided protocols and rules on how they might use that shared wealth to care for one another and to care for that resource. So these are grassroots systems in which people cooperate and collaborate to serve the needs of communities. And when we look, we actually find that fashion exists all around us within the commons. And these fashion commons are systems that are naturally built for sufficiency rather than growth, and that naturally care for nature and the community. But so often these are ignored when the fashion industry gets all the attention. So our mission really is to give these practices more and these communities more visibility. And this is what that visibility looks like. These are some of the articles that we have on the journal on our common market. So this includes covering why women in garment factories in India are wearing flowers in their hair. We've talked to Growing Arc, a community in Toronto that are engaging marginalized people in growing fibers. We've talked to EACEA Erasmus in Ukraine, who is a designer who runs upcycling workshops, a really unique way of upcycling that builds social interactions and helps people process the trauma of the war. We've talked to Uli, who is an indigenous weaver struggling against the erasure of her clothing culture. Diane Gold, a pearly queen of St. Pancras, who's taking part in a working class tradition of London in which they sew mother of pearl buttons on suits and they do charity work. And then lastly, there is another example is Yiran Duan, who is from the Bai ethnic minority group in China. And she is teaching her craft to people there in London. So these are just some of the examples of these communities and what they're doing. And really, I don't have a load of stats to give you. What we've been concentrating on is really kind of slowly and purposefully building connections with these communities and helping link them together in networks of solidarity. So we've gone to visit communities in Mallorca, Romania, in rural England, in London, and trying to bring all these diverse voices together. So our vision is really for fashion systems that help bind communities together, that build resilience and help nature thrive. So we see defashioning as a way of kind of opening up new ways of being in this world and new ways of relating to one another and relating to our environments. Thank you.
Today I'm representing three interconnected initiatives. One is MyBina, which is a non-profit organization promoting sustainable development. Redu, a social enterprise focused on circular fashion and textile waste. And Kuib, also a social enterprise, vegetarian, vegan bistro, both being also Redu and Kuib being community spaces where many of our local actions and interactions with the community come to life. Across all three projects or entities, our mission is to contribute to the sustainable development of the local community by implementing projects under a holistic approach. So in other words, our mission is to, of course, act locally to respond to the global crisis like the overconsumption and climate change. We do that with focus on food and on textiles also. And also we want to do this with and for our community. In the past year, we also had a bigger focus than the other years into reconnecting with the young and younger generation. Some words about our two spaces. Kuib, the bistro, is one of Romania's first sustainable consumption places. We are recognized for our determination and efforts to prepare tasty, healthy, environmentally friendly food from fresh, local, and seasonal ingredients. And when it comes to individual choices after the food we eat, The clothes and the accessories we choose to consume have the greatest impacts on the environment and the society, as we all know. So less than a year after KUIP launched, we started to set up the second social enterprise, which is Redu, and Redu has been offering ethical and more sustainable alternatives to the consumption of clothes and accessories. We work only with the textile waste, which we collect from the local garment and textile factories, and we do that for 10 years this month. So for over the past 15 years, MyBine has grown like hand in hand with our local community. It's been very important to us to keep things grounded and human. We try to kind of avoid, when we can, overly formal formats. And instead, we try to create spaces that feel inviting, where people can share meal, music, co-create ideas, and just feel at ease while engaging with the important topics also. So this is how we believe that we can start to create real change. So through relationships, shared experience, and a little fun and joy along the way. I'll talk a little bit about two projects that are funded and then the permanent projects. One of them, most of our projects address the overconsumption. One of them is Reboot. We work with the young people to explore and change the food system through playful and participative actions like disco soup, for example, where we cook together food we collect from the supermarkets in our town. We have an urban agroecology event, which will happen this weekend. Through this event, we are trying to bring back to life the garden at MyBine headquarters, a 700 square meter garden, and which want to make it accessible to the community that will be involved in its realization. And prior to this gardening event, we organized some seeds exchange events and meetings at KUIP, of course. Via Connection Regeneration, another project that's been going on in the past year. We connect diverse groups, creatives, entrepreneurs, and citizens in events like Offers and Needs Market, fostering a culture of reciprocity and mutual support. In this event, participants get to meet each other and what they do, and what services and what are they good at, and they can offer for free or for a fee. And also they create a network that is accessible after the event, so they can access each other through time once they have met. So these are just some ways we try to build local momentum and to challenge overconsumption and promote regeneration. So through some of the long-term actions we do, and we think that our most impactful tools are the ones that are experimental. We have a lot of events with young students, especially in the Green Week, when all the schools take a break from the regular classes and take part in activities that make them more aware of their impact on the planet. I think it's everywhere in Europe, at least. The Green Week, I don't think it happens only in Romania. We also do throughout throughout the entire year, these kinds of activities, but it's more intense during the Green Week. So some of the instruments we use and that have very good results are the Climate Fresh workshop that helps participants understand the causes and consequences of climate change. The Deep Time Walk that reconnects people to Earth's history. Keep Cool Game stimulates climate negotiations. We have two guided tours, the biodiversity route and the eco route of Iași, our city, that you can either visit the green areas from Iași or the sustainable places where you can shop, and so on. And also we have our young volunteers started this year an event. It's called Free Shop. It's a swapping event, and they meet each other with other people from the community, young and older, and they swap and exchange things. And what's left at the end of the event is donated through to another NGO that we work with. So while I was preparing this presentation for today, I had this pop up in my head, thinking about who came first, the hen or the egg. I thought about who came first, over-consuming consumers or overproducing brands. It's not something that we should answer now, but maybe think about it and in the panel explore it. Thank you so much.
First, maybe let's quickly run through who we are, because we do not only textiles. We exist for more than 30 years, and we started with about 4 or 5 people, just driving up front the bulky waste and collecting stuff to get it into reuse and give people with a distance to the labor market a chance to have a job anyway. Today, that is how we are spread. For Antwerp, we have 14 of the 130 shops in Belgium, so we are part of a bigger network. So sorry, this one is in Flemish, but what we try to do is basically create inclusive jobs for all those with the distance to the labor market, combined with semi-industrial reuse systems today. So we try really to go always one step further in enabling the society around us to reuse stuff, to be capable of repairing it, etc. And that's how we actually aim to close in the best possible ways local circles of goods. We have about 71 origins now in our company, and we are with more than 600 people on board. And just some pictures to give you an idea on the scale we work on. So we have about 20,000 square meters of logistics. This is a sorting line on small household goods. This is our textile sorting line. Voilà. And this is the picture. So where we are now. So we sold last year almost 3 million of items, of which 25% is about textiles. So we gave a job to 652 people. And I think I can leave it there for the moment. We sorted out more than 9 million kilos of goods in total. But what we see, and that's a little bit the problem, I like the picture of the ghost, is that the more it goes, the more stuff we get in, but the more difficult it also is to put this stuff into reuse, because we see the quality of the things we get from society going down. And of course, we all know that is linked to this kind of graph. As the GDP of a land grows, that does not mean that people consume in a more reasonable way. No, it often means that people just consume faster and more. And that's actually what we see then coming in, and what makes it difficult to still go for higher rates of reuse. And that's also and that's also what makes that circularity gap grows on a worldwide scale. And that is where we decided to try to be more than a store here, because uh, our model up to now was we sort out, we in a central place, we put it into stores, we try to resell it, and more we try to innovate on our sorting lines. So these sorting lines are capable of creating transparent systems. So where before we created reuse, then sold the rest to a wholesaler. We now see it as our job to have 100% transparent chain. So for us, innovation and CSRD, corporate social responsibility, go hand in hand. And to make that shift as a company, a social use company, we are a lot into European innovation projects. I just give an overview here. We, yeah, we also think we have a role to play in creating behavioral change, and we have where I'm sitting right now, we have a community center. And yeah, I show a picture of Oman. That's because we went to Oman as Kringwinkel Antwerp to help them also to make a blueprint of a company like us, in close collaboration with the university, and more ourselves. Also, we work closely together with the universities of Antwerp to to try to go for a new status quo. But we believe technology is important to create that transparent view. So what we one big thing we try to do for the moment is that on our sorting lines we integrate technology to enhance our people and to make the connection between all the things we get and what is needed in a society to make that connection better. So what you see here is actually a proof of concept of a table that is capable to auto-describe goods that you put on that table. And actually where we want to go with that is that we want every item that comes to our hands to be described. It becomes far more easy to find stuff within our shops, or even in an online sales channel we are developing, but also that the creative people around us can comment the sorting line, and that we can deliver them with goods that cannot go to reuse. Also, we believe that this kind of sorting line, by doing some non-destructive testing and that kind of stuff, can also be a watchdog of circularity. Are all the goods what the producer tells them to be, or are there some problems, and can we raise red flags out of our sorting line and collaborate more with government to then give signs to what goods should stay out of the consumption chains, and also maybe build a link with eco-modulation. Voilà. We are a local enterprise, and that's what we want to stay, but we want to really create something exemplary, and then hope to copy that throughout Europe, so we can become a network of hubs that can in a very efficient way exchange data on the state of play of the goods we get to our hands, and like that try to get a more social view on consumption again, ruling in Europe, let's say. Yeah, and that's maybe pictures that will bring us too far on all that ambition. Maybe one last, we also see that there is like this goods we get in that are from good quality, but that need repair. So we also work on the repair side. How can we get repair more efficient so that goods with high value but that need a small repair can be repaired anyway and still can go into reuse as well. And I think with that, yeah, and of course, for the part that really cannot be reused or repaired, how can we sort out in different fibers so at least that stuff can be locally recycled, and we do not need to send it to Africa where it will be dumped anyway, like the system does now, which does not mean that we should not send anything to Africa anymore. I want to be clear on that as well, but we should only send garments to that kind of societies out of which they really can take benefit, and not send with the good things, all the crap of which we know that it will end up in big landfills over there.
I would be really interested to talk a little bit about community and community building. Remake and Fashion Revolution both work on a global scale, but then they have community areas, right? So Fiore represents Fashion Revolution Greece. Remake has the ambassador system. Actually, I came to know about it through an ambassador here in Florence, Italy, became an ambassador myself, and so am part of that growing community. So I want to talk a little bit about how we grow communities instead of just having this conversation amongst ourselves, people who are already aware. How do you reach beyond? How do you get to that next person, that next ambassador?
Important also to say that Fashion Revolution is the biggest activist movement in the fashion industry, founded 11 years ago. It started from the UK, where the headquarters are, but it was simultaneously volunteer teams like us were simultaneously created in other areas of the world. We are active in 100 countries with local teams. And many of them, I think about 38 are legal entities today. So we're mainly a volunteer-based movement with city leaders and regional leaders and country coordinators. And we don't want to boycott anybody. So we want to take everyone by the hand and show them how to become transparent. So it's as we would say in strategy, is disruption. It's a non-disruption. Disruption actually meant that you need to close everybody else, to compete with everybody else. But we want to change in a win-win solution.
Sarah, if you want to jump in, because I think what's interesting is to hear from, say, Fashion Revolution, which started and became global and so large and might have taken advantage of a moment in the digital landscape where it was easier to reach people. And I see you now starting a new grassroots movement in a moment where there's less digital reach. So how are you growing, and how do you plan, as Federico was asking in the questions, how are we going to maintain these movements?
I mean, I think I have to be honest that I think maybe as degrowthers, we haven't really been fixated on trying to grow and get lots of people on board. Of course, we've been sharing our message, but I haven't really seen the number of members as the key metric. Which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. But really we've been focusing, I think, on those kind of non-hierarchical relationships and collaborating on that basis. And that's just how it's really been quite organic, in that, whatever we do is led by whoever turns up for the meetings and gets involved.
I could jump in here too. I agree a lot with what Sarah said. At Remake, we always talk about how our grassroots community is the real heartbeat of our movement. And we find whether we're campaigning or protesting or collaborating with other organizations or unions, keeping that base of community and connection alive is really what keeps people involved and moves the needle, whether that is through policy or through campaigning. Our global community is connected through many different channels. We use WhatsApp, we have monthly meetings, and we have had about 2,000 ambassadors around the globe who are continuously active in our work. So I think creating a space for people to be authentic and talk about what they care about and connect them to the issues and give them the education that they want, has really been it's been huge for us. I know Alex with being an ambassador, and like I said, was started off as an ambassador too. It's really like it's the base of everything that we do.
Andrea, any thoughts? Because you have such interesting community activities, but do you tend to see the same people there, or do you find that you guys are expanding? Like, is the message getting beyond a single community and expanding to others?
Yeah, I was thinking about how to, yeah, because both Sarah and Alison have and Flori, you have big communities, and that's amazing, right? And I've seen the Remake community how it interacts in a Zoom call. It's really crazy. Everybody asks questions and so on. And I was thinking on a lower level. How do we maintain them? How do we keep the fire burning, into people? Yeah, in a way, we had at some point a vibe that maybe it's not really alive. I mean, there were the same people and that interact with us. It's the same community, but we really wanted to engage with the younger generation, because there's a gap, because we grew older, us, me, Anka, Elvis, and our communication channels with the younger generation kept a bit, we couldn't access them very well. So it was a bit of exploring, and we were talking about why can't we engage people, young people, so easy as we did back in the day. And I think that's the generational gap. But now we have young volunteers, and I think this is a good instrument. Let's say it's not a good word for people, but I'll use it now. It's good to have in your team people of all ages that can speak and that bring their own people and that can speak the language of the people you want to engage and you want to interact to and you want to bring closer to you. And other than this,
and it's really nice to hear from all of you that you found a way to reach out to some of the younger people, because that's also a focus of our project. So we're in the VETRINE Project. We're creating, and we have created, a free online course to teach how to do sustainable clothing design and textile design. And so we do have a young public, and that's why it's a great question coming from, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. There's a username, Azizaga, who's asking Frank how we can encourage younger consumers to value quality and sustainability over quantity. And that is a fantastic question.
I hope I have a good answer on that. Because I don't have the perfect solution. What I think one thing is we try in the sorting process to go for an objectified quality, and we have more and more brands also that ask for that. For example, in Belgium, you have GBC, that's family owned. Still, it's big, but it's still a local company with let's say some ethics, and so they ask a lot to work with us on this question, to show that what they offer is maybe not the most expensive clothing, because they are not into these big marketing campaigns to make something more expensive just by creating an image. But they try to deliver real good quality. And I think introducing that into the sorting, and really try to objectify what is quality and what was built in a good way, can probably help people more and more to understand that the link between what you pay and what you get is often not there. There is a lot of bad quality also in expensive stuff. But of course, it's all, let's say, because when I hear the fantastic stories here, we are a quite operational company. So sometimes I miss this activism. Yeah, we really attack that question by data and trying to objectify and telling people that they better look for a second-hand choice before going into new. Um, but often also it feels like, yeah, we are just a small player in a big world, and yeah, that's let's say, yeah, that's the only thing we can really do. But we see that society keeps consuming more and more from bad quality, and that's also reality.
You know, what part of what you said kind of sums things up. You can't do everything. Each one of us can't do everything. So that's why we collaborate. We get together, we have these discussions, and we have a wonderful audience who I want to thank for staying a little over time. And I want to do a lightning round. So one more minute just to close up today's talk. You have one sentence to tell me the number one action that you want people to take right now. So
I think it's, build alternatives, get involved in alternatives. And if you want help with that, join Fashion Act now, and you've got some collaborators.
okay, build alternatives, Allison.
I think I would say commit to 90 days of no new clothes. If you haven't tried it yet, try it. It will change your life. Not only shopping fashion, but it really solidifies in your mind thinking about where things are coming from and where they're going. I'll drop the link in the chat too.
Fantastic. So join the no new clothes movement. I can say it sticks. Like once you've started, you just keep going. It's been like 2.5 years. Andrea?
Even before Alison answered, I was going to go with their campaign with the 90 days with no new clothes. I think it's a very good start.
Super. Frank?
Try to fix and stop buying new. I know that's radical, but
No, that's absolutely. Fix it. One sentence for you, Fiore?
Yes. First of all, I love fashion, but we don't want our clothes to harm the planet and people. So love clothes last, refashion, upcycling, reused. Instead of luxury, go for upcycling and reworked collections.